Welcome to Transitions. I'm your host, Antoinette Zloty. Today, joining me on the show will be some very interesting people. First of all, I will be speaking with a mom who is also a clergy and also unmarried at this point. Then I will speak with another person who is coming to us from the Punjab Cultural Center, and she will speak about Punjab weddings, ceremonies, and other aspects of Punjab culture, and share some very beautiful things with us. And lastly, we will have Leslie Hackett joining us on the show. Leslie is a marriage therapist, and she will share some information with all of you. So first off, let me welcome Karen to the show.
Hi, Antoinette.
So Karen, can you tell us a little bit about your journey as a mom, as a wife, and also now as a partner to an individual?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I'm a United Church minister. I was ordained in 1975. So one of the realities in relation to marriage is immediately you're cast into the role of performing the ceremony of marriage for others. I was married when I got ordained, all of 1 year. I got married in 1974 to another theology student. We were ordained at the same time. So he and I started out in ministry together. We were married for altogether 21 years. We have 2 sons. We divorced when our youngest son was 18 years old. So there's a particular wrinkle that happens in your life with that word divorce for everyone. But for clergy, it's particularly difficult because there's the assumption that somehow you're held up as models of the perfect love and what it should be. The reality is your life is very normal, like everyone else's. So we faced the stresses that probably one of your other guests will talk about that wear at the edges of marriage.
I see.
Yeah.
So does that mean then that you got married after you were already then a professional, as opposed to like some people get married right out of their parents' homes, and that prevents different kinds of challenges, in terms of getting set up and so on and so forth. So tell me what kind of changes did you go through along the way, and what kind of insights did you gain about yourself and about your spouse?
Well, everybody's story is unique. My sister married very young, causing me to say I wanted a life before I married. So I didn't marry until I was 26. And I was very hesitant about marriage. Not at all sure it was going to be my path as a professional woman. I had managed to get into university, and that was really a vital part of my journey. Meeting him there, he was convinced we could do it together. Probably more so than me, I think, in the early stages. He went through a lot of sacrifices to be married to an ordained woman as well. So the journey had lots of twists and turns in it, but I probably, through ministry, became more and more what I would call radical in the reality of the changing roles of women and men, and the reality of meeting gay and lesbian, transgendered folk, all of that. He, in ministry, I think gradually became actually more conservative, and that's me speaking for him, but less keen on the facing all the changes. So that became a bit of a contentious issue for us. But I mean, we shared many, many happy moments. I think our divorce mostly came out of the place of looking at each other one day and realizing we didn't know each other anymore. And we weren't doing the sharing and the intimate sharing of our strengths and our struggles that we had done, Antoinette. So.
What about the birth of your sons? Did they occur earlier on than in the marriage? And how did they handle it when you decided that, both of you decided that it wasn't going to work any longer? Like,
I think that's
Did
the
they?
hardest part. We went to marriage counseling. We went to see a family therapist, marriage therapist, when we became aware that our marriage was stretching thin. I think our boys were in their early teens. Our eldest was in his early teens, our youngest then. So we worked for quite a while, and you know, there are all the jokes about you stay together for the children, but you really do. The hardest part of divorce, I think, is on the children, because they want their parents to love each other.
Yes.
It's essential for them to understand the meaning of love. You know, if they love us, why can't they love each other? So it's a real struggle. I think the reality for both boys was that they were really disappointed, and they struggled with who are they now.
so
They're in their 30s now, and they've come to realize life is full of this.
Understand it, yeah. And actually, even for myself, with my parents being separated, I think that, yeah, I've gone through that even as an adult, you know. So if you had to do it all over again, would you like to see the partner that you have now? Would you have liked to see that person in?
Well, I guess that, you know, that's a challenging question, because we're at ages and stages, you know, as we go along, and to make it as simple as possible. Being with the person I'm with now, she's a woman. We came together in a powerful friendship of support, and that to us is primary.
Right.
It's that friendship, trust that is so vital. And that had frayed away with my husband. It had frayed away. And you didn't have that level of trust. So marriage, I think, is, a lot of people see it as sort of all wrapped up in our sensuality and sexuality. But it's really, in this world, for me, become more of who is there ultimately that you lean on and you know will not walk away.
Well, thank you for sharing your life story and also your viewpoints with us. And I'd like to talk with you further with the rest of our guests, so don't go away, okay?
I won't.
Good.
Thank you, Antoinette.
Stay with us, and we will be right back. Thank you for joining us, Jazinder. I am so pleased that you brought such beautiful things to share with us, and I was really impressed at the Folklorama Pavilion at the Punjab Cultural Center on King Edward, right?
That's right.
And so can you tell us a bit about what you have here to talk about?
Yes, sure. I'll just explain few things to you. As you mentioned, the Folklorama, that I always say that's a 7 days wedding for us, those who are participating in that, because Punjabi weddings are very lavish. As you can see, it's like I just got just very little stuff, but still it is too much over here. And it starts with a pre-bash, where they call it roka, where it is not even engagement or anything, like they just, two families, they commit that yes, our kids are going to get married, and the celebration starts from there, the huge celebration, you know. And then after that, it is the engagement, and where again it is done in a different way. They call it shagan, they call it shuhara, they call it ring ceremony. So after, so then they decide the date, and when the date is decided, they start with the henna and the Sangeet ceremony. So when the Sangeet ceremony is, so that drum is used, that's a traditional one. So with this, they are going to sing few songs, and sometimes they hire DJ also, and then they celebrate it. And sometimes the Sangeet ceremony could be for 7 nights also, you know. Again, depending upon the background, how much wealthy parents are, so that much money they can spend. And then this is called chura. This is the maternal uncle would bring for the bride. And sometimes the brides, like this will go in one wrist and this one in the other one, this much. And sometimes some brides would like to wear it for 2 years also. They keep
You
it.
say wear it?
Yeah, yeah.
As in, oh,
these are bangles.
Bangles.
So these are made of ivory,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
white
nice,
and
yeah.
red bangles,
Oh,
you know. So this much with the gold bangles along
Oh.
with that. And can you believe, like day and night, they don't remove it. So for 2 years.
Oh, for 2 years.
So
Wow.
maternal uncle brings that. And these are the kaliras. And these are worn with this with the bride, you know, like the bride will wear along with the these
With the
red bangles.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Lovely, lovely.
So this is the chuda ceremony, and then on the other side, the groom would have different ceremonies. So this is a small seat he would sit on, and his sisters and aunties and everyone is going to apply those pastes to make him more beautiful, handsome, you know.
Oh,
so
that's lovely
yeah, and
too,
put
yeah.
oil in his head. Those are kind
that's
of
nice.
yeah.
Nice customs. Yeah.
So, yes.
Very good. And what is this?
And this is again, as I mentioned, the Sangeet ceremony.
Oh, that's part of
So
that. Oh, yeah.
late night after the Sangeet ceremony, last day, they do the jago. And jago is like, you know, telling the people in the village and in the area that don't sleep, it's my son or daughter's wedding.
Wedding.
So
Oh,
they
I
just
see.
take it with us, and they, along with the stick, you know, they just
Make a lot of noise.
make
Keep
a lot
them
of-
awake, yeah.
That's right.
Okay, I love gowns, and I'm not in a gown today, but I love dresses and so on. So, can you explain this gorgeous one here?
Yeah, this is lenga. And if you could hold this, and
Oh,
you'll
it's
see how heavy it is.
Yeah.
And
beautiful.
imagine bride wearing this for 4 or 5
beautiful.
hours, along
gorgeous.
with the scarf, which is heavier than this usually. And this is my wedding dress,
Oh.
which was like
don't tell me, it still fits you?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no, I got the alteration done.
Oh, smart.
Yeah, I got the alteration done. It
Oh,
did fit
lovely.
me. I wore it
Gorgeous.
last year, yes.
Yeah.
And this is some of the jewelry, like the bridal jewelry.
Could I open this one?
Yes, you can,
okay.
please. And this is the bridal jewelry.
Oh, beautiful.
So this is for the neck and earrings. And again, if you would see, it is so heavy. And of course, this is artificial, but bride would wear the real one, the real 22 karat gold.
Wow, lovely.
Yes. And then this is called pasa. This you wear it over here on a side.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's going to be
that's
a
gorgeous
small
too.
over here and on this
Yes.
side.
That's lovely.
And yeah, these are some of the things. And
And this
again, this one is like, you know, when I mentioned the maternal uncle would bring something, or the groom side would go to the bride. So this is the kind of decorative plate they would put sometimes the dry fruit, or, you know, just to make
Oh.
it more attractive.
It's beautiful.
That's
it's
right.
gorgeous. And I think just before we started, you were telling me that there are some newer and different kind of options available for
Yeah.
brides now, and you have a couple here
Yeah,
too?
this is one of the kind for the bride, like, you know, it's a long gown along with the skirt, which is of course not over here. I could not like, you know,
Yeah.
get so much.
Yeah.
So along with the skirt and with the heavy scarf, so this will be worn. And for the groom, I would say,
Oh
like
yeah,
some
we
of
almost forgot the groom.
yeah. So groom.
Oh,
who-
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like as we were discussing before, like, you know, they do the combination as well. So the traditional and the Western.
Oh.
So one ceremony for the main, like when it is marriage, the groom would wear this, and for the reception and sometimes, you know, the evening party, and even for the Sangeet, they would wear Western,
Oh, I
depending
see.
upon what they like, you know.
Oh, I see. Western, as in the tuxedo, and
That's right.
And the gown would be either
For the bride, yes.
white, or sometimes they'll pick a red dress too,
Yes,
right?
red is the more traditional.
Traditional?
Yes,
Oh,
but
okay.
nowadays, you know, the young girls, they start liking pastel shades like this one, and yeah. And of
That's
course,
very
it's like, you know, very lavish, lot of food, and Punjabis, they like dancing, and
So are there some stores then? I think they're right at the center. I guess just as wrapping up, we could mention that if people wanted to, say, find out more
Yes.
about getting married in Punjab culture,
yeah, so the
to
stores.
contact the center. It's online. We're going to be posting it online as well.
Okay, yeah, it is
Yes.
at the Punjab Cultural Center.
So
And
thank you so much
thank you
for
very much.
coming in.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Transitions. Today I have with me as well an interesting young woman who I've met a few years ago. And Leslie, you are going to share with us some insights into marriage, because now you've finished your training in marriage therapy. And
Right.
I thought it would be really nice to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm also married, so
That-
as a
that's
therapist, it's sometimes really hard to take your own advice, but I'm human too. And there's a lot of we get a lot of advice about how what marriage is or how it should be. I think a lot of people tend to think that your partner, you know, whether you're married or not, or regardless of age or orientation or what your couple looks like, people think that, you know, our partner should be everything to us. But it's completely normal and legitimate to have other interests and to want to maintain an active social life and to have your own personal interests that may or may not have anything to do with your partner. And, you know, we can't be expected to give up the things that we enjoy doing, you know, or our need for privacy either, just when we get into a long-term relationship. So we can't really expect that of our partners either.
I've been told that some of the things that cause problems are actually advice that people give. Be careful of that when you're getting married, and also finances, political differences. Can you make some comments about those kind of things?
Yeah, we get a lot of advice. A really common one is don't go to bed angry. And I think at the root of that piece of advice is the idea of not suppressing your feelings, not holding things in for too long. But if there is something going on in your couple, you may have to accept the fact that it's going to take a while to be able to work it out. And if it is midnight and it's time to go to bed, you're better off getting your sleep and getting some rest, so that when you are going to discuss whatever it is, you have the time to talk it out. And pick a time when you're both feeling calm, when you can speak in a relaxed and respectful way, when you can think clearly, and it'll go much better probably than trying to fight it out till 3 o'clock in the morning.
So what about finances? If he likes to gamble a lot and you don't, you want to save, and those kind of, at what point would somebody be interested in, say, going for therapy? Like, what are some of the signs that you really do need to get somebody else involved?
Couple therapy is not just something that becomes necessary when there are serious problems. It can be a really safe environment to talk things out, talk about obstacles or issues that you're going to be facing in the future. So to be able to have that discussion with a third party present who can kind of facilitate that discussion so that you feel safe expressing yourself, so that the therapist can help you express yourself in the most clearly possible way, and also to make sure that you have heard what your partner has to say, because a lot of times we misinterpret things, especially when the emotional level is really intense. Our partner says one thing, but we hear another thing. It affects us emotionally. It can be really hard to think clearly and really make sure that we're understanding each other. And so there are lots of reasons why couples would benefit from going to therapy. But when there are really some serious compatibility issues, those can be really important or really helpful to discuss in the therapy arena. Or, you mentioned gambling, for example. There can be a lot of secretive behavior around gambling and all kinds of behaviors. And when there are secrets, those can really be very detrimental to a couple relationship, because even if the issue doesn't directly affect your partner, our secrets affect us and how we feel about ourselves. Therefore, the way we behave, which then affects our partner. So again, going to therapy can be a really an excellent place to deal with secrets and other things that we have been holding on to, or things that are bothering us, things that are anything that's difficult to talk about.
Well, you know, it's interesting because in selecting topics for the show, marriage is really one of the major transitions in our lives, and not everybody really embraced that transition. Not everybody really want it to happen, and sometimes people feel some pressure to get married after they've been together for a while and so on, or maybe they want to have children and then they feel that they want to have that in a marital relationship. But you know, times are changing, aren't they? And so I guess we'll see what the future has to hold for us. But if there was one piece of advice that you would give those of us out here who are interested in your wisdom, what kind of advice do you think that you would give to us?
I would advise people to remember that you can't change anybody. You cannot change the person you're married to. If there's something going on in your couple, in your relationship, think about what you are contributing to that dynamic. And maybe think about, well, what changes can I make to create some positive change in my relationship? Is there maybe something that I can do differently? Is there some aspect of my behavior that I'm not paying enough attention to that, you know, maybe if I change that might create some positive change?
Because the other day I asked an individual, like, what really was a big change for her with getting married, and then she said there were so many changes that she had to make, you know, a lot of compromising in the relationship, and knowing that now it's not you thinking about one person, but you're thinking about two, and then maybe more if you have children, or if you happen to get married and your spouse has children. So I hope that we'll be able to chat some more on this, but for now, what we'll do is take a little break, and then we'll get our panel together of everybody who has been on the show, and we'll just have a little bit of reflection. So great. Stay with us, folks out there, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Transitions. I am here with our guests, and we would like to chat about something related to marriage. And one of the things that we are kind of interested in chatting about is changes that have happened in marriage over the years, and what's the outlook? Is marriage changing now, and for now and the future? Anybody want to say anything?
Maybe I'll leap in because one of the things I did a lot of pre-marriage counseling, and one of the things I've said all along really is that marriage is an institution. It's something that's created by civilization for a whole lot of reasons, but the reality is that it's always the couple's marriage. So it has to change, and one of the lines I use is, with every couple who marry, marriage is redefined. You're not marrying marriage, you're creating a marriage.
That's very interesting.
And each couple and each person within the couple brings to the marriage or to the relationship their own expectations and their hopes and dreams, and also some of the pressures that they put on themselves and on the marriage to kind of fulfill everything that they want in life.
And I believe, like, you know, the kind of with what kind of impression you get married, because when I got married, I never thought about divorce, you know. So, like, it's not like we are the perfect couple. We have fights, we don't talk to each other for a few days, but like, as my mom told me, that you are married and you are married, you know. So I don't know, like, we grew up with that, being that cultural background as well I'm talking about. But when I see my boys now, they think totally differently, you know.
Yeah, and I think it really is changing in the sense that they actually, I read the other day, there are 6 generations alive all at once right now. So some of us were brought up with the marriage is for life message, but the last 3 generations in particular are saying marriage is for love. And it is, as long as our love can be sustained, we will do this. And we will try and keep that love alive.
Well, that's interesting because I bought into the whole marriage from the time I was little. I always, since I don't know, it's girls that always pretend more to be getting married, and it's a wonderful time. And I love being married. I'm glad that I'm married. But I often say to my husband, and he tells me it'll never work. I say to him, I think that in the future there's going to be more contracts with marriage. And the marriage for life is not really, that's how I feel is going to happen in the future, where people will say, okay, I think I'll be able to commit to 20 years because, okay, the kids will grow up and then, move on and so on in that 20-year period of time, or just 10 years because we're not having kids. So, and at the end of 10 years, we sit down and we go, okay, what do you think?
Where are we now?
How's
are
that
we
10
now?
years gone? Anyhow, he tells me it'll never work because I think that he likes the married for life. But there are times when I think, maybe.
It sounds great, but I think you might be onto something, that people are recognizing how difficult it is in this day and age to sustain a lifetime of a relationship. So.
And we're changing, and we have different kinds of pressures, and
the roles of men and women are changing. But also the biggest change is that we're finally open to the reality that love isn't based on gender any longer. With the gay and lesbian and transgendered communities coming in, there's whole new definition of what does lasting love mean to all of us, and how can we create that. So I don't think there'll be nearly the emphasis on marriage.
Or we have taught our kids to be more independent and to be more expressive as well.
Yes.
So what they want, they voice that.
Yes.
So
we can go forward now into talking about this some more. Actually, I'd love to do another show on marriage. For now, we will have to just ask our audience to join us again for another episode, and maybe we could be back to chat further about marriage. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Here
Thank you.
on the set, and I'm looking forward to further discussions with you.